कदम भरे दूसरों के जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मुश्किलें पड़े तो हम पर इतना कर्म कर, साथ दे तो धर्म का, चले तो धर्म पर, खुद पे हौसला रहे, बदी से ना डरे, दूसरों के जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे। हमको मन की शक्ति देना।
Good morning, all. We are giving tribute to our master Samuel Hahnemann, who had made this wonderful science and taught us dare to be wise, seeking blessings from our Guru Dr. Prafull Vijayakar sir, who bridges the modern science with the homeopathy and homeopathy made easy like mathematics. Jai Hahnemann, Jai Homeopathy, Om Vijayakar Namah. So up till now we have learned one book and read one book, Theory of Separations. There are many questions when we have read that book. So this book, which we are going to read from today, is the Modern Science and Homeopathy. And that is what the source process, that how modern science has been bridged with the homeopathy, and what Hahnemann's thinking at the time when he has written the organon, the same thing modern science prove with the experimentations. So this is what the bridging of Hahnemann with the modern science. Again, we all have reading the organon of medicines because this is the Bible, this is the Gita, this is the Quran for homeopaths. So this is what we have to read our master's book. So up till now we have covered 18-19 aphorism. So from today we are reading the aphorism number 20. So we learn up to 19 aphorism, what is disease, what is health, now what medicine has the power. So in aphorism number 20 it was written like that: the spirit like power to alter man's state of health, which lies hidden in the inner nature of the medicines, can in itself never be discovered by us by a mere effort of reason. It is only by the experience of the phenomenon it displays when acting on the state of health of a man that we can become clearly cognizant of it. Unless and until we cannot understood the power of our medicines when it is potentized. See, all we know about the common salt, the natrum mure, the common salt we daily uses in our day-to-day life. But the power of potentized natrum mure, unless and until we cannot know when it was potentized and proved on healthy human beings. So this was the experience of proving on others, which that the spirit-like power of natrum mure will clearly cognizant to all of us, that we can understand that this medicine cure a vast number of diseases. In aphorism number 21, now as it is undeniable that the curative principle in medicine is not in itself perceptible, and as in a pure experiment with the medicine conducted by the most accurate observers, nothing can be observed that can constitute them medicines or remedies except the power of causing distinct alterations in the state of health of human body, and particularly in that of the healthy individuals, and of exciting in him various definite morbid symptoms. So it follows that when medicine act as a remedy, they can only bring their curative property into play by means of this their power of altering man's state of health by production of the peculiar symptoms, and that therefore we have only to rely on the morbid phenomena which medicine produce in the healthy body as the sole possible revelations of their indwelling curative power. In order to learn what disease producing power and at the same time what disease curing power each individual medicine possesses. So this is what very beautifully mentioned by Master Hahnemann, that the medicine has the capacity to alter the health of individual, and in the return the same morbid power or same the power which produce the morbid symptoms in the body in a healthy individual, the same in the diseased individual, we have to remove that morbid conditions by learning the power of medicine. So same thing happened, that the medicine has a power to produce a disease in healthy individual, and the same power is curing in the diseased individual. So this is what very beautifully mentions by Master Hahnemann. And how this power is known? So this power is known by proving on healthy human beings. So it was given in later part of organon of medicines. So today we are reading another books, The Homeopathy and Modern Science. This book is by the Sir, based on the teaching of Prafull Vijayakar Sir. So how beautifully Sir has correlated this modern science with the understanding of Organon and Hahnemann. So we are starting with this. So by any book you have to read from the preface and the first pages. So we are starting with this process. What is predictive homeopathy group and how it is started? So this is what we have to learn. So we are the group of homeopathy, practicing homeopathy for last many years after we met several failures and inconsistent success in our homeopathic practice. We started following Dr. Prafull Vijayakar's method of homeopathy and found stupendous and a consistent success, something we had not achieved hitherto. This success were not only in easy cases but also in cases termed as a grave pathological and terminal. Inspired by the teaching of Dr. Prafull Vijayakar and putting his teaching into practice, we decided to propagate this simple, easy, effective, and result-oriented teaching to all homeopaths. We formed a small group and called ourselves the School of Predictive Homeopathy. See, the idea came like this. In our endeavor to take this effective method of practice to all homeopathy, we have been organizing lectures in Mumbai on the third Sunday of every month free of charge. This lecture highlights and underlines the use of importance of Hahnemannian homeopathy and of allied medical science like a genetic, embryology, immunology, etc. in the practice of holistic homeopathy. Such lecture sessions are also being religiously conducted even in the various homeopathic colleges in the interior of Maharashtra at no cost. Our workshop and international delegates have been globally accepted and widely appreciated. Following the runway success of these lectures, we decided not to limit the benefit of Dr. Prafull Vijayakar teaching to the homeopaths in Mumbai and Maharashtra alone, but to spread this idea to the student and our homeopath brethren practicing in other part of the India. With this in mind, we request Dr. Prafull Vijayakar to guide and teach us his concept of predictive homeopathy, and he has readily consented to be with us. The highlight of this workshop is sharpening the successful and unsuccessful cases of Dr. Vijayakar and all of us. The presentation is supposed to be supported by the online computerized case analysis audiovisual cases in of life like a screen and comfort of all air conditioned auditorium. So this is what idea came and started. So predictive homeopathy says, let's come together and learn. Now, little bit about Dr. Prafull Vijayakar, those who know or those who don't know. So this is what I am sharing with the book reading. To homeopath in India, even abroad, Dr. Prafull Vijayakar needs no introductions. Dr. Vijayakar has been practicing since 1974-75 and has served a government hospital for more than 15 years. He is the president of the Indian Institute of Homeopathic Physicians (IIHP) Mumbai for about 14 years. A known crowd puller, his vociferous oratory skill keeps delegates attending his seminars, lectures, and workshops spellbound. This convincing ability and mastery over homeopathy has earned him the friendly title of Lion of Homeopathy and Einstein of Homeopathy. Building on his 25 years plus experience and his exhaustive knowledge of the physiology, embryology, genetics, and the human biochemistry, he formulated a new famous Dr. Prafull Vijayakar's chart of 7 layer of separation. We already learned that. For this work, he was awarded the Vidyeshwari Pratishthan Scientist Award in 1998. A sharp observer, a quick analyzer, and a prescriber, he has a penchant for applying various allied sciences like body language, physiognomy, numerology, palmistry, reflexology, and phrenology in his treatment. This helped him to zero down into the simillimum at an amazing speed, thereby enabling him to see over 200 patients on any day. So this is what, whenever you have the knowledge of all this, so you have to cut short your time to practice easily. His first book, Predictive Homeopathy Part 1, Theory of Separations, is an eye-opener and a conscience breaker to many homeopaths practicing wrongly. So this is what very important we have learned as far as the second book titled Predictive Homeopathy Part 2, The Theory of Acute, is a translation of his method of practice in acute emergency. His innate confidence and the consummate ease with which he arrived at the simillimum to cure ailments like pneumonia, malaria, typhoid, and other diseases are offered to the homeopathic fraternity. The third book, The End of My Assumptions, is putting end to all the pseudo theories about the miasms. In this book, he has explained miasm of Hahnemannian teaching correlated with the modern science. All these books have been translated into different languages like Portugal, German, Russian. He has given several seminars in Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Israel, and even distant Brazil. The book Predictive Homeopathy Part 1 and Part 2 have been adopted by these countries in the curriculum of their school in the teaching. Now, what was the pillar of this predictive homeopathy? The name I am suggesting is Dr. Bandi Sambani, Dr. Amita Saluke, Dr. Prafull Borkar, the diligent practitioner and student of, ardent follower and student of Dr. Prafull Vijayakar, Dr. Praveen Jain, Dr. Mahesh Yogiraj Padra. These are the team they have started with this system. If meeting will end in between, we will continue again. So don't worry about it. Now we are starting with the first chapter in search of the scientific homeopathy. So today we are dealing with the first chapter. We have a 10 chapter in this book. So we are starting with the first chapter. In search of the scientific homeopathy. Whenever you go to the Wikipedia, you found that the homeopathy is a pseudoscience. It is a hypothesis created by the modern allopath that homeopathy is a pseudoscience. It is not actually science. But what Sir has made that this is the science and the scientific homeopathy. So in search of the scientific homeopathy, Newton of the UK has proved that light is made up of rays. Again, in the same era, it was Michael Faraday of the France who proved that light is made up of the particles. The both were true. Both were about the same universal truth. In the field of science, two theories saying two different truths regarding the same subject become unacceptable. So there was a big rift or a chasm. The scientists of that era were divided and the chasm persisted. Then in 1917s, the 20th century, after many decades of the founder of today's modern science, Albert Einstein, proved with his law of relativity E is equal to mc square that both of them were true. So light is made up of both rays and the particles. So in the rays of light, the energy is delivered in the quantum or a bundle particles. Thereby, he bridged the historical chasm or rift into science. Therefore, the new era in the science has begun. This was one of his best service to the world of science. So this is why Prafull Vijayakar is called as Einstein of homeopathy because he has bridging the science and there is a lot of historical chasm and rift in homeopathic science. Similarly, about 200 years ago, it was Dr. Hahnemann who was the first in the medical science to say that every individual is a different individual as well as animated by body or organism is ultimately governed by the life force or the vital force. Dr. Hahnemann said that his science is based on a universal law, the law of nature. What are they? What is this all about? A universal law means it remains applicable everywhere, not only in our part of the earth, but also anywhere outside the sphere of earth. I would quote few examples of the universal law, the law of gravity, law of actions and reactions, the law of thermodynamics, and law of relativity. E is equal to mc square. Then medical science, as everyone knows, has made development. It reaches up to electron microscope and went down to see at the genetic level and a genome theory came up. This theory has categorically proved that every individual is different individual. Here I would like to stress that Dr. Hahnemann said the same thing, a universal truth 200 years ago, what modern science says today. Unfortunately, there are very few takers and believers of this his theory. Why? Human mind, as Dr. Hahnemann said, need plenty of logical explanations, which so far, yes, once again, I would say so far, we could not provide and furnish. Therefore, homeopathy has been labeled by a different suffix. It is remain as elementary, supportive, paramedical, alternative, pseudoscience, and so on and above all mystical to the ignorant mind. Okay, it was the greatness of Dr. Hahnemann that he honestly confessed in the preface of the fourth volume of the Chronic Disease. We have no means of reaching to the process of life in the interior of the man. To speculative conclusion from what is happening, we are unable to furnish conclusive proof of our explanation since they take place by a process entirely different. Those were the days of micro-level science. Here again, there was a big chasm which existed between homeopathy. It is a philosophy and advanced science about the human body and mind. About 10 years ago, it was Dr. Prafull Vijayakar who started the process of bridging the gap between these two sciences, homeopathy and advanced science of the human body, by providing conclusive, logical explanations and making a beautiful correlation between these two. Therefore, I have known him as the Einstein of homeopathy. Dr. Russell Swift of Florida, USA, also endorsed this. Now, homeopathy has started to find solid footing to prove as universal science of medicine. Let us see the theme behind this. Interpretations of the symptomatology and the concept of disease in homeopathy has remained altogether different since the time of its inception. The disease is an expression of the distress internal malady. When tempered, the disease disappears only to reappear in the deeper or more vital organs. This has been ridiculed for the centuries. As science was not evolved, the explanation was remained justified by now developed medical science of the world. The whole theory find a new modern dimensions and answer to the ridiculologist by Dr. Vijayakar's explanations. With embryology, he has drawn the attention to the people that the disease is not static. Disease is not static, but it moves from one system to another. The disease or the symptom of the disease move from one system to another. What appear to be completely different diseases are actually linked together. They have connection with each other and have common origins. They are the disease exhibited in the different systems at different times, only to attract the attentions of the onlooker that everything is not within. It is ignorance of the onlooker who is lacking in the mindful attentions, who perceive that certain symptoms and disease were cured. They were not actual cure but the suppression. So what we have learned in the theory of separations, what is actual cure and what is suppression. In order to make the physician understand what is cure and what is separation, he emphasizes on the growth, manufacturing, or the evolution process of the human life in the womb, known as embryology. Thus, he aroused the conscience of every physician via embryology. He explained and strengthened the long neglected Hering's law of direction of the cure. So, this is what Sir has bridging the Hering's law with the embryology. Also applied to it to his own subject, now very well known and accepted, the theory of suppression. Thus, ridicules get transferred into respect. He believes in the theory of he who prescribes the least is the best physician. This is what very important aspect Kant says. He who prescribes the least is the best physician. By this, he gives importance to the fact that there is a resident medical officers in each individual in the form of natural immunity. Utmost importance is to be given to the power of immunity, allow the body to recover on its own, failing which is the physician called for. Thus, immunology is to understand the follow-ups and one innovative idea of when not to prescribe. This is very important understanding when not to prescribe. Okay. The journey of the life begins with the fertilizations of the single cell ovum. This encoded with all the future structure, body and the character, mind. From one cell it evolved to the 100 trillion cell and thousands of control systems to maintain it in a health and homeostasis. Every one of us know that genes control heredity from the parent to the children. The same genes also control the day-to-day functions and reproductions of the cells. The gene control the cell functions by determining what protein will be synthesized within the cell, that is, what structure, what enzyme, and what type of chemical. He has applied this latest trend about the final truth of living being, the gene, the code, to understand the mind and body in homeopathic way. This open up a new window to understand and consider the sick man, the structure of the hair, color of the eye, shape of nose, face, and the body as a whole. To read face of every individual and body language in disease and even health. A new way to arrive at simillimum is easy, better, and more scientific way. Other subjects like physiology, pathology, and the clinical medicines are applied to understand course and nature of the disease and miasm in the human being. Here, he encouraged the physician to apply the physiology, the biochemistry, and make practice more scientific. The one who practice in this scientific way will find that disease and the cure become predictive, again an innovative and simple thoughts floated by him. All this is propagated by predictive homeopathy to remove adochism prevailing in homeopathy. Thus, all the vital subjects related to the human body are utilized or applied to understand the interior of the man and thereby furnishing a much needed logical explanation to the human mind. This is how we reach into the interior of the man, giving homeopathy a suffix of complete science. We are here to instill the confidence and thereby to produce confident homeopath whose mind will find reasoning to explain his act acceptable to the science as a whole. This is not the end. The unit of life is called cell, a universal truth. The cell is everywhere, from the smallest virus to the most complicated and highly organized human being. Homeopathy, which is based on the universal law, remain applicable to all the form of life. Life, even if it exists anywhere away from the earth, something like extraterrestrial or ET, our homeopathy, universal science of healing, is bound to act even on their planet also. So in future, one should expect a consulting homeopath on Mars and Jupiter, or he may be a planetary physician. This was the Sir's hypothesis. So this is what we have as far as read the first chapter, and I think we will continue the second chapter so that we will have an idea, but we will put second chapter to certain extent to time bound limit of our meeting. Okay, it was so much large, big chapter. So we will continue with the second chapter. Homeopathy vis-a-vis a modern medicines. It was Dr. Prafull Vijayakar who has revealed certain concept because the team has made the idea to share the thought process of Dr. Prafull Vijayakar. So this is the beginning of the real healing science, which will make all the incurable disease well within the curative aspect of man. As homeopath, we have certain strong belief about the nature of the disease, how to treat them, what to see in each case, how to take a case, what to see in a follow-up. But is this accepted by our counterpart from the modern system of medicine? Usually we came across three kind of responses. The first, those physicians, the majority of them, who reject homeopathy outright as some kind of humbug with no scientific credibility. So nowadays, after a 200 years past elapsed, even the modern science or modern allopaths, they consider that homeopathy is humbug, it is no scientific and everything. Some physicians readily accept whatever we say without going into detail of our system and are very cooperative. They believe that homeopathy is a mystic science but capable of giving some magical result in cases where they have failed and are unable to offer much help. Also, there are some physicians who want to know more about homeopathy, but we are not in a position to explain to them in their language about our belief and philosophy. To overcome this problem, we should be more informative about their concept, means the allopathic concept, only then we will be able to explain to them more convincingly in their language. So this is what very important aspect of understanding. So question is homeopathy scientific or is it only an art? Does it have a solid scientific base? Does it still stand tall and strong in the midst of all the advances in the field of medical research? Can we defend our science when confronted? And can we explain our science when asked? So this is what the questions in each and every homeopath's mind whenever the any student enter into the college in a homeopathy, they have the belief system that I want to become a doctor only. What is homeopathy? I don't know. Okay. And they started believing that homeopathy is scientific or not. These are the few questions which comes into each and every homeopath in their entire life of either in the study time or in the practice also. So, under the guidance of Dr. Prafull Vijayakar, I decided to find answer to these questions, and this is an effort in this direction. This article is an extract from the Modern Medicine book, which, according to me, talk nothing but the homeopathic concept. So, let me start with what we as homeopaths strongly believe in and what is usually regarded as unscientific or humbug. The first, the concept of health as a harmonious vital functioning of the body and automaticity. Second, the concept of the disease as disturbed by the vital force. These are the understanding of this concept in the modern science. Third, the dynamic. The fourth, the immediate or approximate cause of the disease, the miasm as the fundamental or predisposing cause of the disease. Holistic concept and approach, general being more important than the particular, concept of suppressions and Haring's law of cure, concept of individualizations, concept of actions of homeopathic medicine is not known, the practice of medicine is an art, potentizations, law of minimum dose, and similia similibus curanter. So now we are starting with the concept of health. What homeopathy talks about had in aphorism number 9, in the healthy condition of the man, the spiritual vital force, autocracy, the dynamis that animate the material body, organism, rules with unbounded sway and retain all the part of organism in admirable harmonious vital operation as regard both sensation and function, so that our indwelling reason gifted mind can freely employ this living healthy instrument for the higher purpose of our existence. Now, what modern medicine Guyton says in the first chapter, health is a homeostasis, which is further defined as homeostasis is a normal functioning of the human body, wherein the body tries to keep all the normal functions and the structure of the human body in a proper harmonious operations. Okay. So Guyton further state the body is actually a social order of about 100 trillion cells organized into different functional structure, some of which are called as organs. Each functional structure provides its share in the maintenance of homeostasis conditions in the extracellular fluid, which are called as internal environment. As long as normal conditions are maintained in the internal environment, the cell of the body continue to live and functions normally. Thus, each cell benefits from the homeostasis, and in turn, each cell contributes its share toward the maintenance of the homeostasis. Is it not the same thing that we have always been saying? Just because we use different terminology like vital force instead of homeostasis, does it make us unscientific? The question is like this. The second concept, what Hahnemann in the Organon of Medicine aphorism number 11 says that this spiritual self-acting automatic vital force, which is present in every organism, and then, so homeopathy has always maintained that body functioning is automatic. So this was the word is automatic. What Guyton says in modern medicine, the reciprocal interplay in homeostasis provide continuous automaticity of the body until one or more function lose their ability to contribute to their share of function. So this is what again the automaticity is here. So reciprocal interplay in homeostasis provide continuous automaticity of the body until one or more function lose their ability to contribute to their share of function. So again, what Guyton says, when this automaticity is lost, homeostasis is disturbed. All the cells of the body suffer and not the part. Ende Deodar pathology says that moderate dysfunction lead to sickness, extreme dysfunction lead to death. It was written in pathology book. Moderate dysfunction lead to sickness and extreme dysfunction lead to the death. So that is what we have to understand. Our vital force making our automatically to homeostasis. The same way in Guyton it was written the reciprocal interplay play of the homeostasis is automatical. The second, this was the concept of health. The second, the concept of the disease. What homeopathy tells about a disease in aphorism number 11, when person falls ill, it is only the spiritual self-acting automatic vital force everywhere present in his organism that is primarily deranged by the dynamic materia peccans influence upon it of a morbific agent inimical to life. It is only the vital force deranged to such an abnormal state that can furnish the organism with its disagreeable sensation and incline it to the irregular process which we call disease. For as a power invisible in itself and only cognizable by its effect on the organism, its morbid derangement only make itself known by the manifestation of disease in sensation and functions of those parts of the organism exposed to the senses of the observer and physician, and that is by morbid symptoms, and in no other way can it make itself known. This was written in Organon of Medicine. What modern medicine told about the disease? So, disease has been described in the pathology book as an uncompensated disturbances in homeostasis or misfired self-regulations. This was the word which was uncompensated disturbances in the homeostasis or misfired self-regulation. Thus, disease may manifest itself superficially by the structural changes confined to certain cells, tissue, or organ, and arresting symptoms or a sign may be due to these local changes. Yet, in the language of the physiologist, every sick person is essentially a functionally deranged organism. So, this was word by the physiologist. So same way it was written in organ medicine, but the language is little different. So our logical mind can conceive this when we apply a certain logical understanding. So physiology says that every sick person is essentially functionally deranged organism. The morphological changes are diagnosis for giving a label, but their real significance depend on the amount of the light they can throw on the disordered functions, their nature, and the manner in which they have been brought about. This may sound as if it were given in a homeopathic book, but it is given in the book on a general pathology by Mende and Deodhar. In the study of disease and defaulting organism as a whole must come under the survey. It is further stated that the disease has also been defined as a disturbances of the biological equilibrium between the organism and external environment. As far as the organism is concerned, it is the disturbances of the state of homeostasis of the internal environment. Look at in this manner, disease ceases to be an affliction visiting the body from outside, even when caused by the bacterium invading tissue from the external environment. If an injurious agent upset the equilibrium, the organism will try to restore it through the series of homeostatic mechanisms it reacts to the injury. Again, the similarity to homeopathic concept of the health and disease. So something what before any external things happen, the internal derangement of the homeostasis or internal environment of the homeostasis is disturbed, then and then it affect outside by the bacterium and then bacteria is invaded. This was written in pathology book. Thus, the total changes seen in the disease are not only the changes of the injury, but also include the changes produced by the reaction to the injury. Based on this thesis, we have another definition of the disease. Disease is reaction to injury. This concept is still hypothesis, but right now we have to understand that disease is a defense mechanism of the cellular mechanism. Okay, this is a hypothetical concept. Disease is reaction to the injury. The fourth point, the third point is dynamic. So dynamic is one word which is considered wholly and truly homeopathic and not easily accepted by our counterparts. But the look into the unpublished, undistributed Bible of anatomy, Gray's Anatomy, which devotes a quarter of the pages in embryology chapter to dynamisms of the human organism and how dynamic forces work in tandem to maintain the homeostasis. So this is what Gray's Anatomy says about this. For more understanding of dynamic, you go to the Organon and footnote number 7. So we limit our study up to fourth point. So we conclude this fourth point and we conclude this meeting today. Proximate cause of the disease and the fundamental cause of the disease. So what homeopathy told about that in homeopathy we consider the three main cause of the disease acting on the human body. First is the maintaining cause of the disease, aphorism number 7. Second, the immediate or proximate cause of the disease, and the third, miasm as the fundamental or predisposing cause of the disease. In aphorism number 5, useful to the physician in assisting him to cure are the particular of the most probable exciting cause of the acute disease, as also the most significant point in the whole history of the chronic disease to enable him to discover its fundamental cause, which is generally due to chronic miasm. So this was, we have to understand the disease, cause of the disease in human body are three: maintaining cause, immediate cause, and exciting cause, and the fundamental cause. What modern medicines told about the preventive and social medicine (PSM) talks of maintaining cause of the disease like a nutrition or environmental cause. Whereas if we see in the pathology book, they say there are two types of the causes necessary for the disease to develop. First, the initiating cause or immediating cause without whose prevalence the disease cannot start. This is what also mentioned by pathology books. Second, the predisposing cause which by themselves cannot cause disease. They prepare the soil for initiating the cause, usually by the prolonged preliminary actions. In other words, they confer susceptibility on bringing an individual either by bringing him in contact with the initiative cause or by lowering the resistance of the individual against them. To explain this, an example is also given that tuberculosis is a disease said to be caused by the mycobacterium, but this cannot affect the person until the resistance of the person is considerably reduced. So this is very important understanding. Again, in the predisposing cause, a predisposing factor. So when you read the modern medicine book, it is predisposed to a genetic predisposition is there. So it was written genetic predisposition, or what our master Hahnemann has told that miasm is a predisposing cause. So this is what we have to correlate this modern science with the homeopathy. So today we conclude here and we will continue from the fifth point tomorrow onwards. So hope your query and most of the questions will be nullified by reading this book, and after that we will start with the understanding of the miasm and the practical applicability. So hope you got good insight into this, and I am thanking you all of you for the overwhelming response to the Readers Club so that we all together empower ourselves with the knowledge and practical skill. Any questions for today's sessions or the last few sessions? So if you have any questions, we will have a 5 minutes to share with. So if you have any questions, let me know to my personal chat box, or I will share email satyamhomeopathy@gmail.com. If you have any questions, you can share your question, email me to on this Satyam Homeopathy @gmail.com. Thank you. Thank you being with us in the Readers Club. So we will revising Sir's understanding and Sir's book from the base and that knowledge to be applied in our practice. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.